Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Em and welcome to my catch-up vlog for March. I did this last month and I actually really liked doing it and it seemed to do pretty well engagement wise. So I'm gonna do it again because it's good for me to have a focused project. But I'm basically going to be trying to finish all the books that I am still reading from last month. So it's currently March 1st and it is middle grade March, so you will have seen or will shortly see a vlog of me reading middle grade for the first week in March, but I am still reading non-middle grade stuff that I would like to prioritize, so that's what this video will be. And my battery is gonna die soonish, so we're gonna try and get this intro done quicker than probably I would like to. Very chatty today. All right, so I went a little whole hog at the end of February and I'm reading, I'm reading 3 non-middle grade March things. So let's start with the one I'm almost done with, and that is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I am so late to the game. I recognize that, but I am obsessed. I'm here, like, I'm late, but I'm here now, and I'm happy to be here. I'm farther along than my bookmark says because I was listening to it in the gym this morning, like kind of off and on. Sometimes I can listen to audiobooks in the gym, and sometimes I really can't. Sometimes it's just too distracting. According to the audiobook, I have 3 hours and 33 minutes left, but I'm listening to it at 1.75 speed. Okay, so I'm on chapter 59. Anyways, I'm really loving this and I don't want it to fall by the wayside just because middle grade March has started. So I'm that far. So that's project number 1. The next one that I am reading is I started a reread of the Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry by C.M. Wagner. This is a previous 5-star read and I'm reading it again to see if it's still 5-star. I have not been prioritizing it at all, so I'm only 28 pages in. Another one, and this is fantasy, sapphic fantasy. And then the last one I'm reading is on my Kobo and I'm reading Bones to the Wind. And this is off of Erin at Booked and Busy. She had a video recently where she was recommending fast-paced fantasy, and I loved the cover and it sounded good, and I started it and I loved it, but I started it when I was sick, and so I think I need to restart it because I was loving the writing, but I don't think I tracked a single plot detail. So I think I need to restart it. And so this is the little TBR for this video, is to finish these 3 books. Inheritance Games is definitely going to be the priority just because I'm so close. I'll switch to focusing on these 2, but that's the game plan. So I hope you stick around, and I forgot how to end a clip. So goodbye. Good morning, happy Saturday. I'm sure you saw it's snowing in March. It's fine, not concerned at all. I did finish The Inheritance Games this morning and I think I gave it 4.25 stars on Storygraph. It was either that or 4.5. Oh, we're crooked. I had such a fun time with that book. It was so fast-paced. The chapters were really short, so it was really easy to just be like, oh, I'll just read one more chapter. The ending was a little unhinged, and it got to a point where I just couldn't think about what was happening too closely. Like if I think about that book too closely, I could kind of see the flaws, but if I stand far away and I don't think about it, I had a great time and it was so fun. So I'm going to continue with I had a great time and it was so fun. I gave it to my middle kid this morning and they are now like 50 pages in. They're having a great time with it too, so that's fun. And I placed a hold on book 2 for the audio. This book's been around for a long time and it's been so popular. I don't know that I necessarily needed to say what it's about, but if you were like me and you just took a really long time to get around to it. It's about this girl who inherits a fortune from a billionaire that she has never met before. And the stipulation for inheriting the money is that she has to live in the mansion for a year to inherit all the money. And of course, this dead billionaire's family is all still living in the house and are pissed that they didn't inherit all the money. And he left behind 4 grandsons who are all around her age. So it's her and these 4 Hawthorne boys, basically. And so I like that there wasn't like a murder. I think it's hard to find like a mystery that doesn't revolve around solving a murder. So I liked that. I thought it was really fun. It's a little over, maybe a lot over the top, but like in a really fun, engaging way. I can see, like I have definitely heard people who didn't like this book, and I can definitely see why. But if you're just wanting like a silly, goofy, wacky, fast-paced time, I think it's perfect for that. Now I'm going to, I think, pivot to the Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, I think, but we'll see. I am at work, so I do need to do that first. And then I'm hoping, my husband and the kids are playing Zelda together. They're working through Tears of the Kingdom, I think. Maybe. So they are going to play together this afternoon. I mean, my husband plays and the kids all watch, but it's like their bonding activity. So I'm hoping while they do that this afternoon, I can get a good chunk of reading done. But I haven't decided if I want to restart Bones to the Wind or keep going with Ruthless Lady's Guide. We'll see. I know, I'm very indecisive, obviously. So I will figure that out on my own, and I will come back to you when I have an update. All right, I'm back with an update. Whoops. I'm about that far into the Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, and I had a moment where I was worried that rereading this was a mistake and that I wasn't going to find it as delightful as I had the first time. I think I'm over it. C.M. Wagner has a really unique style of writing for this world, and especially with Deli as our main character, because of what a hot mess Deli is, and she's like a little bit of a con artist, but not a very effective one. And so she says a lot of ridiculous things in an effort to cover her tracks or make herself seem more respectable than she actually is. And it took me a minute to adjust back to that. I also forgot that C.M. Wagner's stories are a little bit slower paced, so this isn't really like the ideal book to pick to kind of binge read quickly. It just doesn't, the chapters are longer, the pace is a little bit slower, and I also forgot that this book essentially has 2 different plots. Like we have an A plot, or like not even 2 separate plots going at the same time, but it's like we have the first half of the book where this thing is happening, and then we have the second half of the book where something totally different is happening, even though it is related to what happened in the first part of the book. I don't even know if that makes sense, but the beginning of the book, so Deli is really poor and just is barely scraping by, and applies to this advertisement for bodyguards for this woman who is basically like going into isolation right before she gets married, which is a religious practice for this world, and but kind of like an archaic religious practice. Anyways, so Deli applies and gets hired because she's a fire witch, though not a super effective one, but that's okay. And it's this really interesting group of women. There is a woman who is a half troll. There's a necromancer, which is called a body scientist in this world, and her daughter. And then there is another woman who is a friend of the woman who's going into seclusion before her wedding. And they are traveling to the soon-to-be husband's estate, and someone keeps trying to murder the bride. And so Deli and Win, the half woman who's a half troll, they kind of hit it off and like start heavily flirting. And in this world, it's called being householded, where you marry somebody, and if you are the householder, then you are the person who is making the money. You're responsible for taking care of the people in your household. Like, you have all those responsibility. And if you're householder, then you're the person who is in a more domestic role. So you stay home, you take care of the house, you don't have to work, you're very much taken care of. And it's not assigned to gender at all. It's just who wants to slot into which role, and also like what your family circumstances are. And so Deli kind of sets out to woo Win, because Deli is just so tired of being poor and having to struggle and not knowing if she's going to be able to pay her rent, if she's going to be able to eat, you know. And but then obviously, like throughout the course of the book, it becomes a real affection for each other. And then of course there is a murder, and that's when the plot shifts a little bit, because these women go about trying to find the murderer and then trying to solve this problem of there's this drug in this world called drip, and somebody's manufacturing a variant of drip that is starting to put the people who take it into like a catatonic state, and some people are dying from it. You either recover or you don't. And so they're also trying to figure out who is manufacturing this variant of the drip. And anyways, so it's like picked up, because now I'm into that second portion, and I love that second portion. I think that's so fun. That's really when you get to see Deli and Win really grow to like each other, and the character dynamics are so good. And Deli finally like comes into a bit of her own and stops being quite the hot mess that she is at the beginning. So I definitely struggled a little bit more at the beginning, but now I'm like totally back into it, and I remember why I like this book so much. So that's going well. I hope that made sense. This is kind of a hard book to explain succinctly, because there's so much going on. But that is my update. I am hoping, I have 7 more chapters. Granted, they are long chapters. A few of them are long chapters, like a few of them are an hour on audio. But I'm hoping I can finish this by tomorrow, because I would really like to be all caught up and have this TBR done by Friday. And it's currently Monday. And the other book I have is kind of long too, so I'm going to need a couple days to read that. Yeah, okay, that's it.
Solution to a problem she'd managed to get herself into. How on ever left was she meant to let Win see her room in its present state? After a few moments of determined worry, though, she thought that she might have hit upon a solution. Unfortunately, it involved spending some more of her hard-earned money. Even more unfortunately, it involved the cooperation of
Okay, I finished The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, and I'm not giving it the 5 stars that I gave it when I read it the first time. I'm still giving it a high rating. I'm still giving it a 4.5. Like, I thought it was really, really good, and I still really enjoyed it. I really love Sam Wagner's style and the characters and the way they interacted with each other and the way the relationships changed throughout the whole book. The reason why it's a 4.5 and not a 5 is that I really do feel like it's 2 separate books. Even though the plot does connect, I feel like there's part of the book that could be a little novella. Like the beginning could be a little novella with one plot point, and then the rest of the book is a whole separate thing. Even though, like I said, the plot is connected. Like, the attempted murder of the woman they're hired to protect, like, really does spur the rest of the plot and these women going back to the city. But I don't know, the pacing just felt starkly different between the two, and I found them getting back to the city, I found that part eminently more enjoyable than the first beginning of getting us there. So that's why it's not a full 5-star, but it did what I wanted it to, which has made me very excited for C.M. Wagner's next book. It's this one. I don't remember the title. I barely remember what the cover looks like. I don't even remember when it comes out, but it's this. And I'm really excited for that. So with that one done, now I'm on to the last book on this little TBR, which is Bones to the Wind by Tatiana Obe. And I am 12% into it. And this is a fantasy, and I believe it's indie published. And I found out about it from Erin at Booked and Busy. She talked about it in one of her recent-ish videos. And I don't know that I could do plot synopsis for you yet. So this was the one where I started reading it when I was sick, and then realized when you read when you're sick and sometimes it's just head empty, no thoughts, like you're just taking in the words but not retaining anything. So I did that while I was sick, and so I had to restart it to understand what the heck was going on. And I restarted it one night when I had insomnia, which I don't know if that is also the best time to restart a high fantasy book, but it's I made choices. I made choices. So I am going to continue on with this. I'm hoping I can finish it in the next couple of days, because like I said, it's currently Tuesday, and I would like to wrap this vlog up on Friday, because I feel like if this catch-up vlog goes past the first full week in the month, then it's not really doing what the intention is to do.
Daylight savings applies. So, to me, when she comes up, it signals that daylight savings is going to get daylight out of here.
Alright, I kind of left y'all hanging a little bit. Sorry about that. It's like Thursday, and I'm finally 50% of the way through Bones to the Wind. And I was waiting until I was 50% of the way through before I did an update. Otherwise, which kind of would have been obnoxious. I was also trying to figure out how to do a synopsis of the book off the beginning, but now that I'm 50% in, I think I got it. So this is epic fantasy, and it's set in this desert civilization where they live like inside the skeleton of a dragon, which I think is pretty cool. But there's pretty strict hierarchy and class system, and food is really scarce, and so rations are really strict, and the society will punish people who don't conform by taking away their rations. And it's cool in that how kind of like fluid and how gender fluid the world, the society is. What we're doing is this is a coming of age story, and we're following 3 different characters as they go through this ritual that every child must go through before they can be considered an adult in their community and have the rights that adults have, because it's pretty restrictive while you are considered a child. So I'm kind of mixed on how I feel about the book so far, because I feel like the writing is really propulsive. It's so easy to just keep turning the page, to read one more chapter, to, find out what's going to happen next. I also appreciate the character arc so far. Like, I started off liking one character, and then she got real annoying, and now I'm kind of starting to swing back into liking her again, and it's happened with some of the other characters too, where I just as I know more about them, my fondness for them increases or decreases depending on the character, but I appreciate that. So okay, here's where I'm getting unsure of how I feel about the book, is that this is marketed as new adult / adult fantasy. Like, this is meant for people who are 18 or over. I felt like, based off the way the characters talked at the beginning and the way they behaved, like our main characters, I thought these people were literal children, like 10, maybe 12, because they read so immature. Only to find out well into the book that they're in fact 15. And then there is also not graphic on the page sex, but very clearly these 15-year-olds are having sex. And that makes me feel a little icky to be reading about 15-year-olds having sex in a book that is not even marketed to 15-year-olds. It's marketed to adults. So that's where I'm getting, I don't know. That's where I'm struggling with the book. And I'm trying to not overlook it. Or trying to not like get too hung up on it. But I just don't understand why they have to be 15. Like, even if they were 17, that would be better. But 15 is so young, and they read so young. And yes, I know 15-year-olds have sex, but still, they aren't written like 15-year-olds having sex. They are written like 20-year-olds having sex. But then their behaviors in the beginning of the book were so much younger. And then I feel like there was an inconsistency between their behavior at the beginning of the book, and this is like across the board, and then how they're behaving now when I'm 50% of the way through the book. Like, I feel like they aged up so much, and it's only been like 5 days in the terms of the book. So I don't know. That's where I'm struggling. It's my really busy day, and I just don't know. I won't be able to read until bedtime tonight, but I'm hoping I can stay awake long enough to get a few more chapters in, and then the goal tomorrow is to finish this book, because I have tomorrow off, and I don't have any plans. Footloose, fancy free. So I'm planning on taking the kids to school, working out, and then parking my butt on the couch and finishing this book. So that is the update. I don't really have a whole lot to add. I'm just kind of grossed out, but also kind of having a fun time. I don't know. It's very high adventure, very high action. There's a lot of things I like. It's just that one thing. Okay, bye! Friday. It's the end of this vlog. I do have an update. I was also a big girl this morning and went and got the oil changed in my car, and I was only 3 weeks past the recommended date, so I'm feeling like the most adult I ever felt. Handling car stuff is always, I feel my most adult when I handle car stuff on my own and don't foist it off onto my husband to handle instead. But that's not book related. Okay, here's the deal. I am 69% into Bones to the Wind, and I am going to DNF it. I am just not the right reader for this book. The slightly steamy scenes with the 15-year-olds, I just can't get past it. I also had an epiphany, realization when I was reading this morning that these kids are like, it's the same level of drama and the same decision-making ability that my 12-year-olds have right now. And once I had that thought, I couldn't unthink it. And I can't be thinking about my 12-year-olds with these 15-year, like, I just can't have those two things together in my head at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else, but it's just not the right book for me, or I'm not the right reader for the book. It's something else from this author. Maybe not this series. I mean, I'd have to look into what happens in book 2. if it's the same characters, if everyone's a little bit older, if everybody's a little bit less of a hot mess. I mean, the other problem is that a problem for me, not necessarily a problem with the book, but problem for me as a reader, is that so many of these characters are such assholes to each other, and they're so selfish, and they don't think through their thoughts, which totally makes sense because they are 15. And when you are 15, you are selfish, and you do not think through your thoughts because your brain is not done cooking. So, like, all their decisions are in line with their characters, so it's not a complaint on the author's writing, because I think her writing, like, the actions that these characters make are true to their personalities and to their ages and to their life experiences. So I think it's well done. It's just not the right book for me. So, and I hate DNFing when I'm this far into a book, because it just feels like I wasted so much of my time. But I knew if I kept going, I would just give it a low rating, and I didn't want to do that either. So I'm gonna be done, which means this vlog is now done. Sad, because it's such a downer of a conclusion. We're gonna DNF this. And what else did I read for this vlog? I was filming another vlog at the same time, so my ability to remember what I've done is not great. But let's see. Oh, okay. So we did have 2 wins. That's good. My reread of The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry was really fun. Enjoyed that. And then the Inheritance Games was such a good time. And I do have, I think I have a hold on the book 2 from the library, and I think that book is on its way. So that will be fun to dive into later. But anyways, if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. If you would like to leave an emoji to let me know that you are here, let's do a ship emoji, because they're on ships in Bones to the Wind. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. All right.